In the world of retail, the daily routine often feels predictable. You open the doors, greet customers, manage inventory, and close up shop. It's a rhythm millions of people know well. But on a quiet day in 2007, this familiar cycle was shattered by a crime that sent shockwaves through a community and highlighted the hidden dangers faced by retail workers. This is the tragic story of Amber Belkin, a young woman whose life was stolen in the very place she worked so hard to manage. Amber Belkin was just 22 years old, but she was already known for her reliability and strong work ethic. As the manager of an EB game store, she was trusted with keys, cash, and the responsibility of running the entire operation. To her friends and colleagues, she was more than just a manager. She was a kind, focused person with a bright future ahead of her. She was building a life, one diligent workday at a time. The day of the incident started like any other. The store opened, the lights came on, and customers filtered in and out, browsing the latest video games. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary. The familiar sounds of a retail environment filled the air, the beeping of the cash register, the chatter of customers, the background music of game demos. But behind this facade of normalcy, a dark plan was unfolding. At some point during her shift, Amber was confronted inside the store. The details of what happened next are chilling. The encounter quickly turned violent, escalating into a brutal attack. When law enforcement eventually arrived at the scene, they made a devastating discovery. Amber Belkin was found inside the store, fatally wounded. It was immediately clear that this was no accident or random tragedy. A homicide had occurred in the middle of a busy shopping area. The news sent a ripple of fear and disbelief through the community. How could something so violent happen in a place so familiar? A place where people went to buy gifts and enjoy their hobbies? The police launched a full-scale investigation right away. Now detectives began the painstaking process of piecing together Amber's final hours. They meticulously reviewed surveillance footage from the store and surrounding businesses, hoping to catch a glimpse of the perpetrator. They interviewed everyone they could find, coworkers, customers who had been in the store, and friends who might have known if Amber was worried about anything or anyone. They also analyzed the store's financial records, and it didn't take long for them to confirm their initial suspicion. This was a robbery homicide. A significant amount of cash had been stolen from the store. Taken right after Amber was attacked, this suggested a motive, but it also raised a critical question. Was this a random act of violence? Or was the attacker someone who knew the store's inner workings? As the investigation deepened, a disturbing pattern began to emerge. The way the crime was carried out hinted at inside knowledge, timing, the access to the cash, and the apparent understanding of the store. Its layout and procedures all pointed towards someone familiar with the EB Games location. This wasn't just a random person who walked in off the street. This was someone who likely knew Amber's schedule, understood the security protocols or lack thereof, and knew exactly where the money was kept. This realization narrowed the focus of the investigation significantly. Detectives began looking closer at individuals who had access to this kind of information, a circle that unfortunately included people Amber knew and trusted. The search for a suspect became a race against time. The community was on edge, and Amber's family was desperate for answers. Every piece of evidence was crucial. Forensic teams scoured the crime scene, collecting fingerprints, DNA, and any other trace evidence left behind. The timeline of events was reconstructed minute by minute, cross-referencing witness statements with security footage. It was through this meticulous police work that suspicion began to fall on one individual, in particular, someone who had a connection to the store and whose story didn't quite add up. This person had the knowledge, the opportunity, and, investigators would soon argue, the motive to commit such a heinous crime. Eventually, the evidence became overwhelming, and an arrest was made. The case then moved from the streets to the courtroom. The prosecution laid out its argument with chilling clarity. They contended that the robbery was premeditated and that Amber's murder was a cold, calculated act to eliminate the only witness. They presented a mountain of evidence, forensic findings that linked the suspect to the scene, financial records that showed a desperate need for money, and testimony from witnesses who helped establish a timeline and motive. The defense, in turn, tried to poke holes in the prosecution's case, but the weight of the evidence was undeniable. The trial was a grueling process for Amber's family and friends. who had to sit in court and listen to the horrific details of her final moments. They had to relive their worst nightmare, all in the pursuit of justice. In the end, justice was served. A conviction was secured, holding the person responsible for Amber Belkin's death accountable for their actions. But for those who loved Amber, the verdict was a hollow victory. It brought a sense of closure, perhaps, but it could never bring her back. It couldn't erase the pain, the grief, or the gaping hole left in their lives. Her family, friends, and co-workers were left to grapple with the senselessness of it all. A bright, promising life cut short over a few $100s from a cash register. The impact of Amber's murder extended far beyond her immediate circle. For the retail industry, her case became a stark and sobering reminder of the inherent risks that employees face, especially those who work alone or late at night. It sparked conversations about employee safety, store security protocols, and the responsibilities of corporations to protect their workers. Many retail employees saw themselves in Amber young, hardworking, and vulnerable. Her story resonated deeply, serving as a cautionary tale that the ordinary and the unthinkable can collide without warning. It underscored the fact that behind every counter, there is a person with a family, with dreams, and with a right to feel safe at their job. Amber Belkin's story is not just a true crime narrative. It's the story of a real person, a daughter, a friend, and a dedicated manager whose life was tragically and violently stolen. Her memory serves as a powerful reminder of the human cost behind the headlines we often scroll past. It forces us to look beyond the case files and court documents and see the real, lasting impact of violence on a community. Amber's life was not defined by its end, but by the kindness, responsibility, and ambition she showed every day. And while her story is one of profound loss, it is also one that continues to call for greater awareness and protection for the millions of people who, just like her, simply show up to do their job. Thank you for watching. If you found this story meaningful, please consider subscribing for more content that honors the memories of those we've lost.